Succession recently concluded its acclaimed second season with a shocker twist that nobody I knew saw coming. I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor here at Gold Derby, and here with star Brian Cox, who plays media magnate and patriarch Logan Roy. Brian, the season finale ends with a really unexpected family betrayal. Kendall makes a move against his dad in a televised press conference, but what I loved so much was Logan watching on and then smiling. Why did he smile?
Well, it's an extension of life, really. It's an acknowledgement that life will go on, and it will go on in its usual chaotic, condition. And Logan knows that he had to push his children, one of his children, over the edge in order to show some character, really, more than anything else. And it happens. I mean, it happens because sort of Kendall forces it in the interview when he says, do I have the killer? I mean, do I have the killer? And father says, well, I don't know. But that's all part of a kind of strategy that Logan he's well used to handling over the years. He's done it. It's a little bit more difficult because it's in terms of his own children. But what is also happening is he's seeing the fact that his children are actually beginning to come to the fore, particularly, funny enough, Roman. He sees that Roman, in the earlier scene, he sees that Roman shows a kind of vision, which is very unusual.
Just a sec.
Hold on. Sorry.
Okay. I found this on the web for Cesar Roman in the early close.
So I don't know why that's happened.
Oh, it happens to me all the time.
I'll put that over there. I don't know what that is. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
But it's so interesting that you say that, because it's now making me realize that when he said to Kendall, "You're not a killer. You'll never be a killer. You don't have what it takes," kind of thing. You could see how damaging that was to Kendall, but it kind of pushed him. And you're saying that Logan is not an idiot. He can see his kids are actually starting to make some moves and do things for themselves and not be so entitled, and he's pushing. Exactly. That's interesting.
Exactly, and I think that's because none of his children so far are worthy. Shiv has proved to be a big disappointment. And we have to remember that Kendall has already tried to betray him. He's always regarded Roman as a little bit of an idiot, but now he's beginning to see some muscle developing in Roman, which he kind of underestimated. And I think he has underestimated it himself, and I think he's aware that he's underestimated. Though we don't dwell on that. That may come in the third series. We don't dwell on it, but we see it happening. We see the way Roman has seen through the deal, the money deal with the Middle East people, the Turkish people. So in a way, it's kind of interesting how the show pans out, because there's always mysterious elements to it in what the motives really are, and that's what I love about the show. It's never black and white.
Yeah, that's what I think we all love about it. And when I spoke to Sarah Snook yesterday, she mentioned that she doesn't really know what's going to happen episode to episode, and a lot of things seem to surprise her. And I wonder, did you see that ending coming? And do things shock you on this show as more than you expected?
No, I just think it's good dramatic writing. I really respect the writers. I respect Jesse, Lucy Preble, Georgia Pritchett, the wonderful Tony Roach, and of course led by the brilliant Jesse Armstrong. So I trust them. In the early days, when we first started the show, I was very because I'm an actor who likes to be prepared. So I was very keen on kind of knowing what the arc was, and it was clear that wasn't going to happen. But it's clear there was an arc, but it was in a mysterious one. So I went for the frisson and the mystery of it. And I kind of get off on the frisson and the mystery of it, that I don't quite know what's happening. But I'm actually getting quite good at the chess game of it, that I can anticipate where the moves are going to be and what the moves are. Given the fact that, and the big revealing thing for me was right in episode 1, I just asked Jesse outright, I said, does he love his children? And Jesse said, absolutely. So that is unqualified in a way that he loves his children. So given that he does love his children, and he doesn't express it, because he will never express it, because that's Logan's problem. He can't express himself in that way. But the fact that he does, he will actually do his damnedest to see that they can come into some kind of fruition, And that's what's happening. I think the big disappointment of season 3 from his point of view was that Shiv always opens a big mouth. She cannot keep anything under. She can't, as we say in Scotland, save your breath to cool your porridge. She has a real difficulty doing that. Hence the outburst, the mistimed outburst on her part at the Pierce thing. And she can't help it because of her position that she's been in. And it's understandable, but at the same time, there's a lot of men. She has amazing instincts and she has amazing gifts, like talking that woman down, getting that woman not to do that, not to testify. So it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating, But sorry,
go ahead, Craig. Oh, well, I was just going to say, with all of that going on, I mean, this show is so complicating and fascinating, but Logan is such a powerful and intimidating character. And when I watch you on the screen, I just wonder how challenging it is to be playing that like 11 out of 10 constantly. It comes from years of practice, really, and it also comes from in 2021, virtually in a year and a half's time, I will have worked in this business for 60 years since I was 15. Wow. So I've kind of seen it all, I've seen it come, I've seen the ambition, I've seen the disappointment, I've seen the rejection, I've seen every aspect of what our business does, and I'm still doing it. And I'm even doing it more now than I did when I was younger. And I've come probably, I wish I had the energy. That's my only problem that I suffer from. But I feel that I've come into my own in a sort of organic way. So this doesn't daunt me because, if you've played Hermann Göring, if you played Winston Churchill, if you played Hannibal Lecter, if you played anyone with very complicated psychologies, I'm not saying Logan is a doddle, but you have a shoe in a little bit with Logan. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's a really good point. And in the you've got all these great characters that you played over history, and do you put Logan beside those amazing characters that you've won awards for and you've received amazing reviews for? No question. I put Logan on the level of a Titus Andronicus or even a Julius Caesar, but certainly a King Lear. He's on that level. I mean, he is, and he demands that kind of exactitude. And I think we relish Succession, the writing and the performances, just like we would a Shakespearean play, and it's been said over and over again. What's fascinating about Logan, especially when the series started, was you're playing a very powerful person who has at that time lost agency physically and mentally. Was that particularly difficult to get right? Yeah, that was hard. That was the hardest bit because I had to, originally when I signed on to do that, just before, actually not when I signed on, but the original offer to me was that it was a 1-season part, and then he would probably die at the end of the first season. And then during the conversation I had with Adam McKay and Jesse Armstrong, literally because I said, so it's a 1-season part, and I could hear, and we're on a phone. Jesse was in Italy, I was in London, and Adam was in LA, so there was this pause on the end of the phone, and then Jesse said, "Well, I think it's going to be. I think it'll be more than 1 season." So I realized that in the conversation, they decided that a paradigm of it had shifted in a way, and that was what was so interesting. So that I realized that the part had an ongoing life. So the first bit. Because I think it was necessary to negotiate and necessary to have that because we needed to see what the absentia of Logan was like in order to go on, with the rest of the show, his recovery. And of course, he's recovering rather well. I think he's doing really well. He's on the trajectory. He got his life back as well. Pretty much. These People can be very unlikable. They do some really repugnant things, and yet I want to be around them and I kind of even care about them. I want to invite them into my living room. Why do you think that is?
I think it's also to do with the time that we live in. You know, you have to remember that ultimately it's a morality tale. You know, I mean, it's my words, it's not Jesse's words, but I think it's a morality tale. And it's about the age we live in. You know, if you think about what's going on in Washington at the moment, and, you know, Donald Trump said, you know, I could kill somebody and nobody would bother anymore. Well, if you think of this, if you think of these SEAM hearings going on at the time of Nixon, it was a foregone conclusion. But it isn't a foregone conclusion anymore, because we live in a world that lies, and a world that lies to itself. And so you get these extraordinary sort of contradictions. And that's what the show is. You know, people go, I can't stand these people. But at the same time, they are obsessed. I mean, literally obsessed.
Yeah.
I've never known anything like it. I mean, I went to a strange function, and well, it wasn't strange, it was a very nice function, actually, in LA recently. It was I had a film open, the film that I've got out now called The Etruscan Smile, and I had the film open, and I went to LA for it. I'm doing a play in New York at the moment. So I got on, went to play, and Rosanna Arquette, who's in the film with me, she said, oh, look, I'm having an evening, I'm having a book launch for Ronan Farrow. And I said, oh, that'd be interesting. She said, can you come? And I said, well, I could maybe get there for that apart. She said, oh, but do come. So I went, and it had started, and it was very interesting. And Ronan Farrow had actually helped a friend of mine who had an issue, you know, of sexual aggression. And so I was there, and the place was full of women, and Ronan was, you know, doing launching his excellent book. But afterwards, you know, when everybody realized that I was in the room, suddenly I was surrounded by these women. And many of them, not all of them, but a couple of them were asking me to tell them to fuck off.
Oh, yes.
I thought, this is the age that we live in. You know, there we are. We're having a Me Too thing going on in one part of the room, you know, with a very serious thing. And then these women who are coming up and saying, can you tell me to fuck off? And I don't know how they found it, you know, what it does to them. But it was just an extraordinary thing. But I also think it's so much the confusion of the age. We're living in a very confusing time, so that our moral centers have shifted and are almost missing, quite frankly. So the moral barometer is gone. So, and what the show does is it reminds people, the more and get into the mire of the show, and they do become hooked, and they watch the show not only once, but sometimes 3 times through. I've talked to people who've seen the show, the first season, have seen it 3 times, because they're sort of, and I think, you know, there was elements of that in the old days with the sort of Dynasty and the Dallas, that had an element of that. There was always that element, but we do love bad people. And we get assured by bad people, and the more we see them, the more assured that we are in some kind of way. It's a sort of yin and yang situation.
It's so true, and it's so funny that you tell that story, because every time Logan says "fuck off," and he says it a lot, I just think, yes, I want to hear more of it. And so you're right, we do.
Right, everybody goes, oh yeah. You know, it's quite astonishing, you know. I mean, I didn't come to my theater the other night, and they wanted a video, and they said, and the girl said, please tell me to fuck off, will you?
That's brilliant. See, and so with all of that happening in the background, the show has really started to pick up steam. So it's picking up awards. It's very acclaimed. People say it's their favorite show, and they watch it over and over again. As you say, I've seen it all twice, so it means I need to get out more. But what does that kind of recognition mean to you personally, particularly at the Emmys, given that it was just nominated for Best Drama?
Yeah, well, I didn't go to the Emmys because I was working. I think I was rehearsing a play. I couldn't go. I mean, I think it's been, you know, it's been a slow burner. The first season was great, but everybody's onto it now. So, you know, we'll see what happens with the awards. But I'm sure there's a few awards flying around, a few nominations, shall I say, flying around. But I think it's just caught on. I mean, I think it's become the show of the hour, and it's incredible what it's done to me. I mean, I did the Kelly Ripa show, Kelly in the morning with Ryan Seacrest. And sadly, she had jury duty, and she was furious because she wasn't reading. And they called me because apparently her and Anderson Cooper share a sort of, they're addicts, and each week they're a character. Who was your character this week? They will say. And Anderson Cooper has been a bit annoyed with Kelly because she's always claiming they call him our leader. I mean, I'm known as our leader to them. She said, "Oh, naturally, of course, our leader." And Anderson said, "Well, yeah, but surely you should share it a bit. You can't always have our leader."
You see what I mean? It's taken over.
It really has.
Yeah, it really has. Well, and the thing is, like, you're no stranger to awards. I can see them behind you, and you won almost 20 years ago at Nuremberg. Well, I mean, it was 20 years ago now, almost. But what do you remember about that night, winning that award? It's a pretty prestigious award to win.
Yeah. It was surprising. I've always said, if I had to choose between a job and an award, I'd always have a job. Awards are fine, and I've done very well over the years with awards. I can't complain one way or the other. But in the end of the day, I mean, they've slightly got a little bit debased recently because there's so much politics in them nowadays, particularly in the movie industry. I think in the movie industry it's very hard. Television is actually probably more egalitarian in a way because it goes right across the board. But the movies has become the movie industry, it's hard to see certain movies. I'm a member of the Academy, and I get DVDs of films which nobody sees, and I see some wonderful performances that outstretch and outstrip sometimes the performances that are nominated. So I find that whole nominating system a little bit suspect now because it's what's available to you. And if you can't get it available, haven't you got the right P&A and you haven't got the right sort of thing behind you for a movie, it's very, very tough. And I feel for people in that situation. So in a way, it's slightly debased the notion of awards to me. There's still some. I think the Emmys is pretty good, and I think the Golden Globes has reshaped itself. It went through a bad time, but it's now become really rather respectable. So I do it for the work. I mean, it's great to have the recognition, but ultimately it's about the work. It's only about the work.
Yeah, that's probably healthier, though, to be like that.
I think it is, because I think you can't live in that world, or could it be, maybe, or would it be great? It's just there's not enough time.
Speaking of not enough time, I could literally sit you here and just force you to tell me everything about the last 2 seasons that we've relished. Unfortunately, we don't have much more time. But what I do want to say is, I mean, my favorite scene of the whole show is the finale of season 1, when Kendall and Logan embrace after that really horrible incident with the British waiter. I just can't get that out of my head. I think it's wonderful the way you both played that. And I wonder and then also maybe Turnhaven from season 2, that whole sequence with Nan and Rhea. Brilliant work there. What's your favorite or highlight part of maybe the show to date?
Well, the part that I really kind of enjoyed, where finally he gets his rocks off. And you don't want to get his rocks off too often because it's a giveaway, but I love Ball on the Floor. I thought Ball on the Floor showed the suitable savagery of how primitive Logan is as a man. There is a sort of primitive motivation at work, and his contempt for human beings. It's so kind of evident. We can't have too much of that, though. We don't want to give too much away. But that was quite an interesting, and of course, both those scenes, the final we've seen with Jeremy in 2, and of course that scene you just mentioned. I mean, Jeremy is so good in the show, and I love Jeremy, but he and I have completely different acting methods. But it works. It doesn't matter what goes on. It works, and he steeps himself. I mean, that boy beats himself up horribly. I mean, I'm wondering he's still standing the way he puts himself. But his work is phenomenal. It's second to none.
Yeah, it really is undeniable. Brian, thank you so much for sharing some of those thoughts with us today. Really appreciate your time, and good luck at this award season and in future.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
And everybody go to Gold Derby, make your predictions for Succession. Before you go, click subscribe, so watch all of our great chats, just like the one you just watched with Brian.